Hello and welcome to the Latch Lounge podcast. Today we are going to be talking all about what you actually need for breastfeeding. I get asked this question every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, by moms that I'm working with, both prenatally and postpartum. There is so much noise out there around products when it comes to breastfeeding moms, and as women in general, we are being heavily marketed to for solutions for literally everything. So today we're going to talk about exactly what I think breastfeeding moms should have on deck and maybe go over a couple of things that I think could be a little bit problematic if you were to purchase them. I'm Amber Ginn, IBCLC, and empowering moms in their breastfeeding journey is what I do. Breastfeeding comes with a lot of opinions. Your doctor, your mother-in-law, that random lady at the park, and it can leave you feeling like you're constantly second-guessing yourself. That's why I created the Latch Lounge podcast, to cut through the noise and give you real, judgment-free, no BS advice that actually helps. Whether you're nursing, pumping, or combo feeding, this is the place for you to get the real support and information you deserve. So grab a drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. So first and foremost, always do your own research before buying any product for yourself or your baby. And this is just my opinion as a professional, but it is not the be-all and end-all. Buy whatever you want. This is just me sharing some information that I share with clients all the time. First and foremost, I want to talk about sore nipples and what we can do to support that. That is a super common issue that moms deal with, that they ask me, what do you recommend for sore nipples? So two things that I always recommend to my clients for sore nipples, that is Silverettes. I'm a huge fan of Silverettes. I think they're an amazing product. I think they work really, really well. And I think that they work well enough to justify their slightly high price point. They're usually around $50, I think, which is on the higher side, but they work extremely well. They're good for wound healing, for supporting sore nipples in general, and I just really couldn't say enough good things about them. Beyond that, another product that I think every mom should have for treating sore nipples is a nipple balm. I personally am a big fan of lanolin. I know it's become a bit of a pariah a little bit. People don't like it as much as they used to. Everyone's all about these herbal infused vegan nipple balms now, but I am a really big fan of just good old-fashioned lanolin. I think it works really well, assuming that you don't have an allergy to it. If you're not a fan of lanolin, I would say Mother Love Nipple Butter is really great, and that is the #1 brand that my clients use that I've seen have really good success. I also like the Earth Mama brand. That nipple butter is really good too, but I would just say Mother Love I've seen used more, and I just like it better overall. Beyond that, we're going to talk about catching extra milk. I have so many moms ask me what I think of Hakas, because I think nowadays TikTok is inundated with videos of IBCLCs. I'm looking around to see if I have my Haka. I have it right here. It's inundated with IBCLCs who have really strong opinions about Hakas and how they may or may not ruin your supply in one way or another. Personally, I think they're fine. I have no issue with them. If they work well for you, totally cool. I don't love the design when it comes to using it with a baby nursing on the other breast. Like, as you can see, if this is here and a baby is here, there's so much potential for your own arm, baby's legs, anything, adjusting a pillow to knock the sucker off and spill milk everywhere. So not my favorite for catching milk. I think it works in a pinch. I think it works well for hand expression. I think it works great for clogged ducts and other stuff. But my favorite thing for catching milk is something like the Boon Trove. I think the Boon Trove is an excellent product, and any client that I've ever suggested it to has had nothing but amazing things to say about it. I've had so many clients who've came back to me and they're like, oh my God, I never knew this thing existed. This is the best thing ever. It stays in place. I've gotten so much extra milk. I built a little bit of a freezer stash, without really trying. I've just had it in my bra. It fits comfortably. It is not at risk of getting kicked around like this guy is. But again, not anti-Haka. I just think the Boon Trove works a little bit better. Beyond something like the Boon Trove or the Haka Ladybug or the Haka itself for catching milk, I think something like a really high quality nipple pad is really paramount to have for every single nursing mom. Whether you are going to be at home or out in public, that might dictate what type of brand or what style of pad you buy. I definitely think pads are really, really good for wearing in your bra, so that if you hear a baby crying or your boobs decide it's go time and you're in line at Whole Foods, you don't soak through your clothes. They're really, really great and super useful. Most of them are really inexpensive. I prefer to get like an organic bamboo or cotton, something like that product rather than something that could be made with less than ideal materials, so that we're just making sure everything we're putting right up against our breasts is supportive of our hormones and everything else. So I would say the reusable ones are cool if you're the type of person who can keep up with them. I have a lot of moms with the best of intentions who buy washable nursing pads and they do not end up keeping up with them. They get gross, or worse, they try to stretch them further than they should because they don't want to wash them, and that's not good. So if you're the type of person who can stay on top of washing your nursing pads, keeping them tidy and keeping up with them, reusable ones are great. If you're more like I am, you're more of like a type B mom and you don't want extra shit to have to wash, the ones that you can toss are totally fine, and I think they work really well, assuming that the material they're made out of is a little bit more natural and safe, like bamboo, cotton, etc. From there, I would say the next thing that we want to be having items on hand for are things like engorgement and clogged ducts. Because engorgement does happen to, I would say, most moms to some degree, at least in the first week or so, just as our milk is coming in and our body is kind of regulating what it wants to do and how much milk it wants to have based on our hormones and our feedback from our baby. So for engorgement and clogged ducts, I would say the two big things, I could go on and on, but the two big things that are really good are something like a pad that fits on your breast that is good for cooling and heating that you can either pop in the fridge, freezer, or you can warm up is super awesome for dealing with engorgement. With that said, again, hot takes on TikTok from IBCLCs. As of late, we don't recommend utilizing heat often for things like mastitis, engorgement, etc. But across time, we have. I like to tell moms that they should educate themselves on risks and benefits of anything and decide if they would like to utilize warm compress and heat for treatment of engorgement, clogged ducts, etc. It's really up to you. I've had a lot of moms use that across time and it works just fine. But when we're trying to stave off inflammation, the line of thinking is that adding more heat could potentially just increase inflammation, so on and so forth. I think using heat and cold together, as has been used across time in medicine for all the different things, is a great protocol. But again, do your own research and decide what works for you. So those hot and cold packs, I think, are great. There's a brand, Mom Frida, Mom Cozy, I think both of those. Freedom Mom, I think I got it backwards. Freedom Mom and Mom Cozy both make really good, like, breast shaped packs. You don't necessarily need that. I tell a lot of moms if they're not wanting to buy an extra thing, even just a pack of peas that you like draw like an X on with a Sharpie and you're like, these are the peas for my boobs, nobody eat these, that works just fine. A hot pack, a hot water bottle, something like a sock full of rice, etc. All those things work really, really well. From there, I would say every breastfeeding mom or mom who plans to have any milk produced in her boobs should have a manual pump. I think a manual pump is the undersung hero of a lot of breastfeeding issues. They are really useful for helping with clogged ducts if you have them, helping with engorgement if you have that, helping pull out the nipple if you have flat nipples, having something on hand to pump with if you're just in a situation where you don't have electricity. I think they are really, really great. I'm not a Medela fan, so I'm not saying anything disparaging about the brand, but I am not a big fan of Medela pumps when it comes to their electric pumps. Their hand pumps, their manual pumps, on the other hand, I think they're great. So I just don't ever want to get anyone confused where they're like, oh, she said Medela pumps are good. The manual pumps. The Medela manual pumps and the Lentino manual pumps both are good. I would say Medela is probably my favorite of the two, and I think it works really, really well. From there, last but certainly not least, I would say the two other things that every mom should address and prepare for and have on hand would be a really good nursing and or pumping bra. Typically, you're going to want one for each because it's like a jack of all trades, master of none situation, and a nursing pillow. So when it comes to bras, we want to make sure that our bra is fitting us well and that it's supportive and that it's comfortable. Generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of women wearing bras. That's a whole other podcast you could get into for lymphatic drainage, how it affects our breast tissue, all those different things. But I think when you're nursing, good bra is important, especially if you're going to be out in public and especially if you are pumping. A good pumping bra is really, really nice. I would say two of the brands that I really like when it comes to nursing bras are Kindred Bravely and Mom Cozy. Those are both really good bras, and I am not the biggest fan of the tube top style pumping bras for women with larger breasts. But if your breasts are on the smaller side, I think those can work well. Always do your own research and see what seems like a good fit for you. I would just say that a good bra is important for most moms. If you're pumping, I would say a good pumping bra is a must. If you're nursing and feel like you'd benefit from a good nursing bra, definitely, like if you're wearing a bra, you should be wearing a nursing bra. Definitely a really good choice. We want to make sure that if we are wearing a bra and we are nursing, that it's a nursing bra, because if not, we might be doing weird things like pulling a cup down, or if we're wearing a bralette, pulling it up, and it can cause pressure on different areas of our breasts. So with that said, even a good nursing bra, we always want to make sure that we can very comfortably remove our breast from the bra without any like pushing. If you're watching the video, you can see like if certain nursing bras might be digging in this way or digging in this way. We don't want any of that, because putting pressure on the ducts can cause clogged ducts or other damage, or it's just uncomfortable. It's going to cause ineffective milk removal. So, or less effective, I should say, milk removal, as opposed to a bra where we can whip the whole thing out and effectively latch baby without causing any compression to any area. Let's talk nursing pillows. So there is a lot of hype out there around different nursing pillows. There's a lot of strong opinions. Us IBCLCs are an opinionated bunch, but personally, I would say my two favorite pillows are the Mom Cozy pillow and the My Breast Friend pillow. I like both of those. They're good across time. I've seen a lot of clients use them and they work really, really well. With that said, depending on the position that you like to nurse in, the location that you like to nurse in, the size of your torso, the size of your baby, a dozen different factors, we want to decide on a pillow that works for our bodies. Some moms like the pillows that are already on their couch or the pillows that are already on their bed. But I would say if you are going to be nursing in the hospital, having a breastfeeding pillow on hand is really useful, or just bringing some good quality pillows to the hospital. Pro tip there, super useful. Hospital pillows kind of suck, and you don't want to be hunching over and starting your breastfeeding journey with improper posture that's going to teach you and baby that you're needing to be leaned forward or crunched up, and that's just less than ideal. So with all of that said, those are my big products that I would suggest that every mom who's breastfeeding have on hand. And if you check below, you'll see a link to my Canva document that I made, a cute little guide to these products with links to them so you can find them nice and easy. So now that we've gone into the things that I do like, let's talk about the things that I don't like. So I, of course, always want to be respectful of brands. This is just my opinion. I'm not shit talking anybody too bad. I'm just sharing what I've seen work and what I've seen not work based on working with thousands of moms across a bunch of years. So I would say the number one thing that I think is a waste of money would be those countertop sanitizers for bottles and pump parts. I know that's like maybe not a well received opinion, but I really don't like them. I don't think they're necessary, and I think they can cause a lot of harm to mom's mental health when she feels like she has to wash her bottles and sanitize them in that way every single time. I've had clients come to me and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed by pumping, I think I just want to quit. And I'm like, well, let's talk about why. And they're like, I have to sanitize the bottles every time and it takes an hour, and by the time they're done I've got to pump again. And I'm like, wait, you can wash your bottles and your pump parts with hot water and soap in most cases, assuming you don't have an immunocompromised baby. That's a whole other thing. But generally speaking, we're never really sanitizing things anyway, because as soon as they come out, they're not sanitized anymore. They're not sterile. So, and sterilized is the word I mean, rather, not sanitized, sterilized. So the bottle sterilizers, I would say, leave those off the list. From there, I would also say something like a snoo, or I can't remember, maybe it's Graco has something that's similar to a snoo, like a less expensive version. I think that those are not ideal for most breastfeeding moms, because they are so good at comforting babies that we will miss hunger cues a lot of times. I think developmentally, there are a lot of questions about safety and effectiveness, and maybe will they be around in 10 years? Who knows, right? We're always going to be coming up with products as a society, and sometimes those products are going to be great and they're going to last, generations and generations, and other products we're going to look back and we're going to be like, holy shit, we put a baby in that. So I kind of feel like snooze might be on that side, because I don't think that they're super protective of babies' innate primitive instincts that are so, so important. So not a fan of the snoo. I don't mind swings. I think if your baby's big enough and use them safely, I think that they can be okay, used in the right amount of time. But the snoo, on the other hand, not a big fan of that. So from there, let's talk about products marketed for breastfeeding moms that are protein shakes, protein bars, meal replacement shakes, hydration drinks, all that good stuff. I would say, by and large, most of the brands that I've seen marketed to women, to breastfeeding women, are trash. Like, I really would love to say that there's a brand of like a meal replacement shake or a protein shake, etc., that is really hitting the mark, but most of them are not. If you ever see anything marketed to you that's a meal replacement and it has less than 700 calories, I'm just going to go big or go home, right? If it has less than 700 calories, it is not a meal replacement. It is a snack. If it has less than 200 calories, it's not even a proper freaking snack. I see there's a big brand out there, again, not going to call that one out by name, but there's a big brand out there that makes a lot of products for breastfeeding moms, and their influencer marketing is on it. Like, if you have looked up anything about breastfeeding or watched a single video about breastfeeding, I'm sure you're getting their ads, or at least you're getting what you might not realize are ads from other influencers who are talking about their product. So I'm not a big fan of protein shakes, meal replacement shakes, bars, etc., that are marketed for breastfeeding moms. I think focusing on whole food nutrition and products that just really support the raw fuel that our bodies need is going to get us further than an overpriced pea protein shake. And I could go on and on about pea protein and why that's not optimal for most breastfeeding moms and how it can cause issues for babies. And sometimes we blame dairy for those issues, but that's a whole other thing. I would say protein powder in and of itself, not an issue. I'm just not a fan of products that are marketed heavily for breastfeeding that just are missing the mark in terms of bioavailable proteins. Just like a quick rundown. If you are not a vegan, if you're not plant-based, then you should be leaning on animal-based protein because it's far more bioavailable. 19 grams of protein from plant sources is not the same as 19 grams of protein from an animal source. Just not as bioavailable. So I would say those are products that I would also avoid. I wouldn't buy a bunch of that stuff. I am a fan of supplements when they're the right supplement. So below I can link that as well. My supplement guide that I have for breastfeeding moms, it has a disclaimer in there, but as always, do your own research when it comes to supplements. Talk to whomever it is you feel that you need to talk to in deciding about using a supplement, and make an educated decision as a sovereign adult woman, because I'm not suggesting that anyone necessarily take anything. I'm just sharing information. So I would say that's my thoughts on protein powders, meal replacement shakes, all that good stuff. Last thing before we wrap this up that I would say is a no-go for breastfeeding moms: bottles that look like boobs. If your bottle is designed to look like a breast, it is most likely not the most supportive bottle for breastfeeding. I have an entire podcast that I can link below about bottles for breastfeeding babies, but suffice to say, when you're buying a bottle, you want to buy a bottle that looks like a bottle. It looks like a nipple from a bottle. It does not need to look like your nipple. Quick rundown on why. The wider the base of the bottle, which typically the wider the base for the nipple, the harder it is for baby to get a good deep latch on it, and they're most likely going to be just nursing on the nipple of the bottle nipple, the very tip. If you're watching the video, you can see this one's a little wider, so they're going to have a harder time getting down on there. With something like the Dr. Brown, that's nice and tall and has a very narrow base of the nipple, they're going to have an easier time getting a deep latch. So those are the things that I really like and that I don't like. I hope you all have found this very helpful. That's it for today, Mama. If this episode helped, don't stop here. Get even more support at thelatchlink.com. Need one-on-one help? Did you know your insurance covers free lactation care? If you have Aetna, Anthem, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, or UHC, you can get free virtual lactation care right from the comfort of your home. Check your coverage and book your session today at thelatchlink.com. And if you're looking for instant help with latch issues, grab my course, Latch Legend, for step-by-step fixes you can use right now. If you love this episode, subscribe and leave a review. It's the best way to help other moms find the support they deserve. Until next time, trust yourself, trust your baby, and know you are doing an amazing job.